What's up, everybody? I'm the Disc Golf Nerd. Welcome back to the channel. Tonight we're taking a look at my top 5 favorite overstable mid-ranges on the market. We have the MVP Deflector, Innova Gator, Latitude 64 Anchor, the Dynamic Discs Justice, and also the DGA Quake. Now, this video will serve as somewhat of an addendum to my overstable approach disc video, where I'll be showing discs of other speeds as well. Over 20 different molds that I've collected to show off in that video with 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 speed discs, but they're all going to fill a somewhat similar role in your bag. But since these are the only 5 that I have in that collection that are considered 5 speed by their manufacturer, why not do a top 5? And let's get into it. So we have 5 different options here, 2 of which are beadless, 3 that have beads from a number of different manufacturers. A couple things to touch on right before we get into that, though. 1, if you like the channel and you like the content, please hit that subscribe button to stay tuned and be part of the community that I've built here around the channel. Most of my viewership is not subscribed, and I really appreciate it if you did subscribe. I'm trying to get to 15,000 subscribers this calendar year, but I need your help. So hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything, and you can stay tuned to all of my future uploads that I'm going to post over the next coming months and beyond. Also, huge shout out to our main sponsor for this video, Upper Park Disc Golf. UpperParkDiscGolf.com is the website. They have the brand new Ledgestone Edition shift that'll be dropping relatively soon, so keep an eye out for that. Once you're ready to order, whether it's their Ledgestone shift or anything else from UpperParkDiscGolf.com, you can use my code DiscGolfNerd10. Get 10% off your order, save you a nice chunk of change on your bag, and it will directly help support me and the channel. Thank you to Upper Park. Thank you to all of my viewers, fans, subscribers, everybody out there that helps out the channel. I appreciate you all. And let's start talking about some plastic. Okay, here we go. We're going to start with the one that I am most familiar with and the one that spent the most time in my bag, and that is the Latitude 64 Anchor. This is an Opto Anchor with the old Disc Golf Nerd logo on here from the first time I ever did custom discs. This is from 2017. My homemade first run sticker on there just to commemorate the occasion. This is one that I just have in my collection, one of very few that I have left from this run. Sold most of them. I think we did 2 runs that year. This one is a beaded overstable midrange. Once again, shout out to my friend Chris Caulfield for making this run possible. He did a fundraiser back in those days and basically single-handedly made it a reality that I have custom discs at all, so I appreciate that very much. So yeah, beaded mid-range, and has that nice big bead, similar to like a rock, but quite a bit more overstable. The flight numbers for the Anchor are 5, 4, 0, and 3. So it has more glide, according to the flight numbers, and also according to my testing and experience with this disc, than the rest of the list. I think this is probably the best option for backhands. If you throw backhand shots primarily, and you just want something that can hold angles really strong, have a strong fade, no natural turn, the Anchor is a great option for that. But don't sleep on the stability of this disc. It might actually surprise you, especially in this Opto plastic. One that I had in my bag for years is this Punisher die one here that was sent to me by Dave Felberg. It was a blank white deco die Anchor that I put Punisher on there. I also dyed it with turmeric from that video that you can kind of faintly see where the turmeric was. At one time it was a really nice neon yellow, not so much anymore, but this one was in my bag for years, and it's a great disc. It broke in a little bit, so it was a little bit more straight to fade than a fresh Opto one will be. But yeah, if you have a little bit more, a little bit less power rather, and you're more of a backhand predominant player, I think this might be the best one to check out of the list, because it's a little bit more throwable, will fly a little bit more before that aggressive fade kicks in. That is the Anchor. Definitely a great disc, and somewhat underrated, I'd say. Not a lot of people throw those for whatever reason. Moving on. Absolute classic, the Innova Gator. This is a Champion Gator. I dyed this one as well with one of my old electrical tape pinstripe designs. Good old black dye poly did the job. I actually think I dyed this one to make sure my dye worked still before I dyed that Punisher stencil on my Anchor. The Gator is a little bit smaller diameter than the others in this list, or some of them. Definitely a little bit smaller diameter than the Anchor, at least. Probably the Quake as well. And it has that big, chunky, squared off, kind of blocky rim, and it has a big bead in there as well. Also, it feels great in my forehand grip. It is a little bit strange on top. Like it's kind of flat around the outside edge. Then it has a little bit of a kind of centrally located pop top on this one for whatever reason. Doesn't really make it any less overstable from what I can tell. This is a mean disc. The Gator flight numbers are 5204. I would probably consider it a speed 4, and I was actually a little bit surprised to see that it was a speed 5, but if Innova considers it a speed 5, who am I to question that? We're going to roll with it and include it in this video. Gator is a great option as well. Very overstable, lower glide, very meat hooky, wants to get down to the ground, does not want to fly very much, and mean overstable. Still a very viable option as an overstable mid-range. The Gator, definitely a classic for sure. Moving on to a beadless option. First we're going to take a look at, and this is the MVP Deflector. As you can see, the flight numbers on this guy, 5, 3.5, 0, and 4. So the fade and the glide kind of reversed from the anchor, and I think that's probably pretty spot on. This is in the Eclipse Proton plastic, which is gorgeous. I absolutely love the way these discs looked. I don't know. You know, they stopped making them, from what I understand, to try to make the glow better because, you know, this white rim was the only part that glows on this disc, so it's really not the best option for glow, but just in terms of a gorgeous disc that really stands out well in the woods too, like if you're just trying to keep an eye on it on the course outside of playing glow, it does a phenomenal job. Dead flat, mean overstable disc. This one's probably just about as overstable as the Justice, if not more so, depending on which individual discs you're testing, you know, back to back or whatever the case might be. Nice, smooth, comfortable, beadless option that I think a lot of people dig for forehand. So this is a great one. This one was very close to being in my bag, but they were a little harder to find at that time. So I ended up just using the Justice because I had a couple of those and I was trying to learn how to throw forehands, and I was you know, carrying a couple to practice it. So this one didn't quite make the cut, but Deflector, a little bit underrated as well. Not a disc you hear too much about, but it's a really effective option. Again, with that perfectly flat top, really, really nice grippy proton plastic on the inner core of the disc on this particular run. That again feels great for forehand. Chop it over on hyzer, it'll come right out for you, and a really effective overstable approach disc for sure. I like the Deflector quite a bit. Next one, we have the DGA Quake. This one, flight numbers are 5303. This one is also flat topped, very, very flat, and it is somewhat lower profile, and it is also a beadless option. And this is kind of like the perfect step up from a zone. If you like the zone, but you want something that's a little faster, a little bit more aggressively overstable, the Quake is a great option for you to look into. This is the overstable mid-range of choice for our friend James Hafer from the channel, our local pro who helps us out with so many of the videos, our good friend James. He throws a ton of shots with the Quake on shorter courses. You know, he's throwing the Quake a lot on those short forehand shots, and it's his go-to approach disc for longer range get up and down shots with a forehand, and it just works out awesome for him. He's deadly with this thing. That's part of why I wanted to test it originally as well. Let's take another look at the profile on this guy. So you can see how it has that little bit of an indentation there, and it has a relatively shallow feel to it as well. And both of those things end up making it feel really nice in my forehand grip. The way my my off finger tucks into that little pocket there. Great disc. Also very, very underrated. I think this is easily the best overstable mid-range that comes out of the Discraft factory. It's a DGA disc, of course, but it's made by Discraft, and I put it above the Drone. I put it above the Buzz OS easily. I think this is definitely the best overstable 5-speed mid-range that Discraft makes. And obviously, its main competition for Discraft throwers and DGA throwers is the Zone. So this is a great option if you want a little bit more beef and a little bit more speed than a Zone. Typically, this is a great one to check out. Now, I didn't really put these in order, right? But if I have to pick a winner and I have to crown the king of the overstable mid-ranges in this video, which I'm not afraid to do, it's going to be the Justice, guys. I got to do it. The Justice is just the king of the overstable mid-range. This thing always does what you want it to do. It's just always overstable, super beefy, holds flight for a long time. Like, it really doesn't want to break in much at all. The flight numbers on the Justice are 5, 1, 0.5, and then 4. Now, I take somewhat of a little bit of an offense to having a positive number for turn. I feel like it either doesn't turn or it does turn. So it's usually either 0 or into the negative numbers. But if any disc and any type of disc deserves to have a positive number for turn, the Justice is probably one that makes sense. This is a Moonshine one that was sent to me by the disc golf guy Terry Miller. Thank you very much to him. He actually sent this to me during the great plastic shortage of late 2020. I couldn't find Justices at all at that time, and he had some in his collection, and I dyed this one up. Came out rad. This is probably the one that would go in my bag if I were to carry a Justice. Nice board flat Moonshine Justice. Awesome disc. And then I also have this really nice Lucid X Chameleon that I wanted to show you just because it's such a beautiful disc. And the Lucid X plastic, a little bit more firm, a little stiffer, and somehow, yes, even a little bit more overstable than a regular Lucid Justice. So I kind of have to give the Justice the #1 slot. It's just always beefy. It does exactly what you want an ultra overstable mid-range to do. It has that big bead to take some of the wear and maintain the overstable flight characteristics for a long time. And yeah, the Justice is just fantastic. And this is a disc I used to learn the forehand a couple of years ago. Now, I didn't really have a forehand before that. It was an absolute get out of trouble, last resort type shot for me. And now I'm feeling very confident with it. And a lot of it came from laying the foundations using a Justice. And the reason is I can throw it on that chopped over forehand and it fights right out of it. So you can get comfortable snapping it over in that little bit more of an kind of a familiar, more accessible type of release for a lot of players. More natural for me, for sure, than like a hyzer flip-up forehand, which is much more difficult to control and to learn. So this thing really helped me get comfortable throwing the forehands, and now I'm using the harps just because I find them to be a little bit easier to throw. They're a little bit more flight to them, and the VIP harp is not quite as overstable, so I can use it very nicely for backhand as well and get a little bit more distance. But if I was going to go out on a super windy day, or if I knew I just wanted a super mean overstable disc to carry, the Justice is the one that would end up in my bag, and I think it's the king of the overstable mid-ranges. Let me know what you think about this list. Let me know if there's anything that I missed in terms of a super beefy 5-speed that needs to be involved in this discussion. Stay tuned for my overstable approach disc video coming very soon, showing off a ton of different molds in a similar vein. Let me know what your favorite overstable approach disc is and your favorite overstable mid-range is in the comments down below. Thank you once again to all of you for your continued support, my viewers, my subscribers, my Patreon support team, and of course, upperparkdiscgolf.com. Use my code DiscGolfNerd10 and hook yourself up with one of the best bags on the market. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate and love you all. I'll talk to you very soon. Cheers.